Overview: feud between Donald Trump and Nicolás Maduro. The authoritarian leader of Venezuela spans nearly a decade and centers on issues like Venezuela's political crisis, human rights abuses, alleged drug trafficking, migration, and control over the country's vast oil reserves. It began during Trump's first presidency, 2017 to 2021, with economic sanctions and diplomatic isolation of Maduro's regime. Tensions simmered under the Biden administration but reignited dramatically after Trump's re-election in 2024, culminating in the U.S. military action in early 2026. As of February 10, 2026, Maduro has been captured by the U.S. forces and is facing trial in New York, with Trump asserting U.S. influence over Venezuela's governance and resources. Background: 2017 to 2021, Trump's first term. The conflict traces back to Venezuela's deepening crisis under Maduro, who succeeded Hugo Chavez in 2013. Maduro's government faced accusations of election rigging, corruption, and ties to drug trafficking networks like the Cartel de los Soles, an alleged criminal syndicate involving high-ranking Venezuelan officials. Trump escalated U.S. pressure by imposing severe sanctions on Venezuela's oil sector, recognizing opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim president in 2019, and indicting Maduro on narco-terrorism charges in 2020. Trump accused Maduro of flooding the U.S. with drugs and enabling migration crises, framing Venezuela as a national security threat. Maduro responded with defiant rhetoric, accusing the U.S. of imperialism and attempts to seize Venezuela's oil. This period saw failed U.S.-backed efforts to oust Maduro, including a botched 2020 incursion by mercenaries. Interlude: 2021 to 2024, Biden era. Under President Biden, the U.S. eased some sanctions in exchange for oil production increases and promises of fair elections. But Maduro's disputed 2024 re-election, widely viewed as fraudulent, reignited criticism. Venezuelan migration to the U.S. surged, with millions fleeing economic collapse, which Trump exploited in his 2024 campaign by blaming Maduro for emptying prisons and insane asylums to send criminals northward. Claims Maduro denied and experts largely debunked. Escalation in Trump's second term, 2025 to 2026. After Trump's inauguration in January 2025, the feud intensified rapidly. 2025 Trump designated Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization and ramped up deportations of Venezuelans, citing tattoos or nationality as red flags. He revived accusations against the Cartel de los Soles, labeling it a terror group in November 2025. September, November 2025, U.S. forces began targeted strikes on Venezuelan vessels in international waters, killing over 100 people under the pretext of combating drug smuggling. A military buildup followed, including deploying the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier to the Caribbean. December 2025, Trump issued an ultimatum to Maduro via phone, demanding his resignation and offering safe passage for him, his wife Celia Flores, and his son in exchange. Maduro reportedly refused defiantly. Trump publicly boasted about Maduro's concessions under pressure, emphasizing peace through strength. January 3, 2026, Operation Absolute Resolve. U.S. forces launched airstrikes on Caracas and surrounding areas, capturing Maduro and Flores in a raid. They were extradited to New York, pleading not guilty to charges including narco-terrorism, cocaine conspiracy, and weapons possession. The operation resulted in around 100 Venezuelan deaths. Key motivations and accusations: Trump's side focuses on stopping drug flows, curbing migration, blaming Maduro for sending criminals, and securing U.S. interests in Venezuelan oil. Trump has called Maduro a narco-terrorist and linked him to gangs like Tren de Aragua. Maduro's side portrays U.S. actions as imperialistic resource grabs, denying drug ties, and accusing Trump of using anti-drug rhetoric as a pretext for invasion. International reactions and implications: the U.S. operation has drawn widespread condemnation as a violation of international law, weakening the UN Charter and rules-based order. Groups like Amnesty International criticize it as aggression driven by resource control. Domestically, it aligns with Trump's America First stance but raises questions about regime, change and nation building. Contradicting his anti-interventionist rhetoric, Venezuela's future remains uncertain, with potential for prolonged U.S. involvement or internal instability. Trump announced the U.S. would run Venezuela temporarily to rebuild its oil infrastructure and ensure compliance, rejecting support for opposition leader Maria Corina Machado. February 2026. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez assumed leadership, condemning the U.S. action as brutal aggression and demanding Maduro's release. Trump threatened her with a bigger price than Maduro if she didn't comply, while Secretary of State Marco Rubio suggested ongoing U.S. military presence and an oil quarantine on Venezuela's oil industry to exert leverage. Analysts speculate a U.S. deal with regime holdouts allowed the capture without full resistance, interim leadership and recourse reforms. Maduro's vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, became acting president and met with Trump at the White House. The U.S. pushed for oil sector liberalization, excluding Russian and Chinese influence, and aimed to make Venezuela energy cheaper for American consumers, targeting $50 per barrel. Discussions also touched on minerals, with potential U.S. involvement in mining to secure supply chains. Challenges and resistance. U.S. oil executives, including ExxonMobil's CEO, have called Venezuela uninvestable due to political instability and unresolved disputes. Global criticism has labeled the actions as resource-driven aggression, with Trump openly stating the operation was about oil to take care of America. Broader economic impacts on Venezuela. The regime's collapse has led the U.S. control over oil flows and revenues, potentially through a trade protectorate model where funds are held in U.S.-managed accounts. This could stabilize the economy but risk exploitation, as mining and oil activities have already caused environmental damage in protected areas. On the U.S., Trump frames this as boosting American energy security and reducing prices, but it has sparked debates about imperialism and conflicts with domestic oil producers. Low prices could hurt U.S. drilling profitability. Global ramifications. The events have disrupted regional oil markets. WTI U.S. oil prices briefly spiking above $60 per barrel before settling. They also signal Trump's aggressive resource strategy, including threats toward other resource-rich areas like Greenland. These developments represent a shift from sanctions to direct intervention, centered on exploiting Venezuela's economy and minerals for the U.S. benefit. As of February 2026, the transition remains ongoing, with no clear timeline for elections or full U.S. withdrawal.